Hi class, my name is Mr. Kramer. Welcome to BTEC. I can't wait to meet all of you guys, but for now I guess we're doing this remotely. You've chosen to take BTEC Music, and our first week is going to be dedicated to getting to know one another so that I can understand what kind of musician that you are and what kind of musician you want to be and what you'd like to get out of the course. We're going to start this week with a listening diary, which I'll take you through in a minute. Also this week you're going to do some questionnaire type things so that I can get to know what you know. If you have any questions at all, just ask. There are 3 components to the BTEC course. One is exploring music, second is developing your musical skill, and third is to respond to a brief given externally. So this could be in the form of a composition or a performance. The BTEC music course is a really good course for developing your practical musicianship, as well as getting to know and understanding the industry a little bit more in case you wanted to pursue it in the future. Your first task is going to be to create a listening diary of 10 songs. Now I've got Spotify open here and I've got the document which you're going to have available to you as well. 10 songs, author, your name, 10 songs list here, as well as a little bit more context down here. So let me talk you through this. Now I've got 10 albums which I absolutely love, and so I'm going to take one song from each of those different albums, different artists. My first artist that I'm going to listen to is Deep Purple. I've actually got them in the top there of my Spotify. The first song is off the album Burn. This is it. This is an absolutely banging tune. Burn by Deep Purple off the album Burn, 1974. So I'm going to add this in my first one. So Deep Purple, song is Burn. Now, as we create this list, what we want to do is we want to go a little bit deeper. So we're going to add some more information here. So track title here is Burn. Artist is Deep Purple. Genre. For the time in the 70s, that was heavy rock, and it still is pretty heavy to this day. Release date. This album was 1974. This album I first came across on tape cassette. I listened to it non-stop when I got it because the guitarist was so heavy and I was learning guitar at the time. I was 8 years old and it was my first discovery of heavy rock. So a little bit more context about the band. This is not the original lineup from Deep Purple. David Coverdale on vocals and Glenn Hughes on bass and backing vocals. They weren't part of Deep Purple before this album. Now I include this in the context because when they released Burn, David Coverdale, his vocals were a lot different than the original lead singer Ian Gillan, and Glenn Hughes was a bass player and vocalist and producer in his own right, and he provides some really specific backing vocals in Burn. Glenn Hughes on bass and backing vocals, David Coverdale on vocals. Not in the original lineup, not in the current lineup, but this band has been going since 1969 and they're still going today. I'm going to do a very brief analysis. Guitar riff driven using power chords and a verse chorus structure. The lead vocals are typical of the time, high range tenor singing with high pitched sustained screaming on open vowel sounds. The guitar is using a distortion typical of the 70s, distorted amp models, likely Marshall amps with 12-inch speakers. The keyboard organ sound is very Deep Purple. It mixes rock organ and heavy distorted guitars. It became quite a prominent sound of the 70s. Just going to add a little bit more to the context here. Burn is a particular favourite song of mine. It begins with a clear guitar riff that is very simple and has a no messing feel to it. This allows the listener to get into the groove of the music very easily. It's very high octane as it breaks into the verse with a fill-driven drum kit over high-pitched and powerful vocals from Coverdale. The chorus has a change in feel and tonality as it moves from riff-driven verse to a more harmonic chorus, with chord changes every 2 bars. It is a small respite, which then returns to an isolated guitar track as the music resets to its heavy riff home. That's just one there. I'm not going to do the in-depth context for every single song right now. That's what you've got to do. But I will go through each of my 10 songs so that you know what kind of music I like. Okay, so the next album that I love is a Blues Traveler album. It is first up here, Blues Traveler. Crystal Flame is a really, really nice tune. Not only is it like 9 minutes long, but it starts off with this lovely, lovely guitar riff. Let's have a listen. Yeah, that's definitely going on the list. That sweet harmonica being played there is awesome. Okay, so Crystal Flame by Blues Traveler. Okay, the next album is Tapestry by Carole King. I know this particular album because of this song, Where You Lead, and this is the one that I'm going to include, which was the song for the Gilmore Girls. if you ever watched that program. Trivium is one of the biggest metal bands that I love. Trivium Ascendancy, the album Ascendancy. Let's just have a little listen to the riff from Like Light to the Flies. Various reasons why I love that track. The mixture of guitar riffage, some of the double bass playing by the drummer, the mixture between screaming and singing. The next one on my list is a Stephen Schwartz track, who I can't find Stephen Schwartz, who is the composer for the Broadway musical Wicked. My choice from this album is No Good Deed by Stephen Schwartz, sung by Idina Menzel. What I love about this is the orchestration. The way that the orchestra plays underneath is so brilliant. On it goes. No Good Deed from Wicked. I couldn't go by without mentioning these guys. Rodrigo y Gabriela, two incredible guitarists. And the album itself is the untitled Rodrigo y Gabriela album here. And there's loads of great tracks on here. They even do a cover of Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven, which is really nice. But my choice from this album away from acoustic instruments, and we are going electronic EDM. We're going Daft Punk, and I'm going early. They've got so many great albums, so I'm going early. I'm going Discovery, and what I love about this album is that it plays through so beautifully from beginning to end. If you have an opportunity to just listen to an album from the beginning right to the very end of it, this is one which I would recommend starting with. Aerodynamic has just got a really nice guitar riff in it. It's got some nice sort of funk behind it. It mixes electronic and instrument work really nicely. Next album is actually Taylor Swift. It's 1989, because at the end of this album she's got a few little tracks, little voice memos that she included on the deluxe album, which talked about her composition technique and her writing method and what actually she did. She collaborated with a couple of artists to get some of the songs, and one of the songs which I like especially off this particular album is I Wish You Would. It starts with a really nice guitar track and just overall is a really nicely arced piece of music. A small section of verse straight into the chorus, and 30 seconds in we're back into verse 2. Super catchy, really nice melodies, really nice guitar track. Okay, next we're going a bit more classic. We're going Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin are really up there in terms of favourite bands. Sadly, their drummer died from an overdose, and they were only together maybe 10 or 11 years. But in that time, they absolutely changed the world of music, and people still talk about Led Zeppelin and listen to them. And my choice of Led Zeppelin 4 is proof that you can write a perfect album with just 8 tracks. My choice has got to be Misty Mountain Hop, the track after Stairway to Heaven. It starts off with a nice rock organ sound, that same rock organ we were talking about with Deep Purple, followed by a guitar playing in unison, and the drums come in, and it's just a really nice, heavy riff, but still very bluesy. So Misty Mountain Hop, that goes on the list. Led Zeppelin, Misty Mountain Hop. The final album from this list, Stevie Wonder, and it comes from his album Songs in the Key of Life, which is just a great name for an album. Stevie is just a brilliant musician and songwriter, and my pick is of course Sir Duke. So there are 10 tracks which have influenced me, 10 tracks which I love to listen to and can go back to and have something interesting to think about. And that's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to talk about 10 different songs that you are interested in. On that document that will be attached on the assignment, I want you to fill in that first contents page with 10 tracks. I want you to go into each section and write what it's called, what the band or artist is called, the release date, because that's important for the context, as well as the genre. And then I want you to go into a little bit more depth about the context. Specifically, I'd like to know what you're interested in about that particular tune. A small analysis, so maybe the structure, or maybe analyse the way that it sounds, so how it's being produced, maybe what instruments they are using. Maybe you could talk about the lyrics if that's more your thing. And finally, the performance. What's the context of the performance? How is it being performed by the particular artist itself? So complete that task, and then we can talk a little bit more about it in greater detail. Thanks, and good luck.